What do you love most about Chicago?
I think we give fewer F's about what people think and the look that you have to have. When I come back to Chicago, I'm always kind of relieved. It's like, oh, I can be myself here. And I just love that about Chicago. I mean, we're tough people. We survive our winters, and that takes some gumption. So it's just a feeling of ease that I've always loved about Chicago.
You're listening to Notes from Chicago with Ashley Phillips. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Notes from Chicago. I am so excited today to welcome Laura Baginski to the show. She is the co-founder of Earlybirds Club, which is something I'm super excited about because it is a dance party for women that ends by 10 p.m., which is what a lovely concept. Laura, thanks so much for being on today.
No, thanks for having me.
You know, kind of thinking about that idea of come as you are, of gumption, of toughness. I'm wondering how that kind of brought, or how that influences Earlybirds ethos. Maybe I'm guessing, I'm making some assumptions here for sure, but that kind of ethos contributed to the creation of Earlybirds.
I mean, this is a dance party where, it's not a scene. It's like not cool. Like we are trying very hard to not be cool and just be who we are. And I think that because most of our target audience is a little older, we no longer care about those things anyways, and we just want to be free and uninhibited and not care what people think or who's watching or just it's very freeing at this age to just not care.
Yeah.
And no one is trying to wear heels and their super tight dresses and stuff like that. Like, let's let the 20-year-olds do that. I'm way over it. I want to wear my sensible shoes and my sports bra and just go to town.
Absolutely. Maybe talk a little bit more about the concept and how you and your co-founder Susie started it.
So we wanted to target women our age because there are not a lot of outlets for women our age that isn't like a Pilates class or like a book club. There are not a lot of places for women to go out and have fun at an early hour.
Yes.
So the idea was, Susie and I love music. We're really passionate about music, and we missed dancing. We missed going out and having fun, but like the late nights are way over for me. And I just want to go out in the early evening, get back at 10, still get my 8 hours of sleep, but still have fun in that time from 6 to
Yeah.
10. It's not just time for like going out with your girlfriends for dinner and then just coming home and being like, okay, well, like I have a lot of energy to give, and I have, I've found that dancing is a great stress reliever. And I think we all need more of that. So the idea of where this came from is kind of seeing live music, which I did a lot more of after the pandemic. It kind of reignited my love of live music. And, if you're at a show with everyone is super into the artist and singing along and like, you're like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling. But most concerts start at like 8 o'clock, and then there's an opening band.
You're lucky. Yeah.
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 And it's just like, it's not worth, I mean, I still do it, but it's really rough the next morning when I have to get stuff done. So the idea was to combine dancing with early nights and, you know, a feeling of sisterhood that I have, especially as I've gotten older, of how my girlfriends are so essential to my well-being and have gotten me through some of the toughest times of my life. And it's one of the most important relationships to nurture, um, because it's just so good for your mental health to have that support from your friends. And so it's celebrating all of those things at once. And I think it can be very powerful for people.
That's amazing. And how long have the parties been going on?
About 18 months.
Okay, yeah. So you just said so much that resonates with me personally, and part of the reason, like how I heard about Early Birds, and then I think once I heard about it, and then in Chicago, and then like 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I saw a New York Times article about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is bigger than I thought it was, like beyond Chicago, which is great. But I think for me, I certainly, and I also love music. I've gone to millions of shows, stayed out way too late. Also, used to go dancing all the time till 4 or 5 in the morning. Obviously, I can't do that anymore. And I always talk about, I have one day a year I can actually go hear Derek Carter because he will always play on the Sunday at Westfest. Because otherwise, I'm not staying up until like 1 or 2 in the morning for his set to start. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but I can't. So like this is to me like sounds so perfect. And everyone I've talked to, mentioned this to their girlfriends. They're like, "Oh my goodness, this sounds so amazing." So I love that. I think the other thing that you said that I really was also really true for me, like during the pandemic, I would have fantasies about going to shows or like you know somehow like figuring out a way to like host like some outdoor like festival because I was just craving being with people and hearing live music.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean that's it's part of the human experience. Not to sound like a cheese ball, but it's I mean, it's like really important,
So important.
to being people. I think.
Yes.
Um, you talked a lot about you talked a lot just now about kind of the impetus for this, and maybe just you talked more about the music and that feeling of like wanting to physically express yourself and not just sit and eat, which is great too. But
It's great.
but I want to like delve in a little bit about kind of this idea that Early Birds is, specifically or was specifically created to be a safe space for women to come and, partake in dancing and celebration. So, could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. This is a tough time for a lot of women, trans and non-binary people. Um, you can feel kind of on your guard a lot. It is certainly tempestuous everywhere, but I think women especially are, and trans and non-binary people are feeling like we need a safe space where we don't have to maybe deal with toxic masculinity. um, and it is it's hard to describe unless you've been there, but the feeling of being completely free and not um, worrying about the male gaze and knowing that no one's watching you in a way that is creepy, or like trying to impress someone or something. You're not trying to impress anyone at these things.
Yeah.
Like the weirder the possible, we nurture weirdness and ridiculousness, and dancing like crazy and provocatively, but not having to worry about like asking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not having to cover your drink, not having to worry about that. Like, leave your purse like wherever. No one's going to take it. It's like it's um it's a feeling of freedom that a lot of women don't get to experience in public. Um, and it's it can be very powerful for women. And we have a lot of crying at our events because um, it's unexpected the way it can feel to dance with your friends and not worry about anything that's happening outside those doors. You just kind of leave it at the entrance and just get it all out on the dance floor and laugh and scream lyrics. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Um, so I think that's why it's resonated with people. Um, it's just not something that people get to experience, and they need to do it more. Um, all this to say, men are also welcome to come. Um, it was created for women, trans, and non-binary people, but um, we can't and won't exclude someone. So, but the idea is really to kind of create that safe space for women, trans, and non-binary people. So, and it mostly is that, you know, we occasionally have men who are, you know, allies who are there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change, excuse me, it doesn't really change the vibe of the dance party.
You co-founded Earlybirds with your friend Susie, and I know she recently passed. If you could talk about how she contributed to that creation of Earlybirds, and you know her legacy on the parties going forward.
Yeah, Susie had a huge part in making this happen at all. I had the idea, um, and I brought it to her because she is one of those people who just gets things done and knows tons of people and just has that those connections. And I just trusted her, you know, her sense that like her business sense. She had started a company before, and she's just so smart. And so when I brought it to her, she's like, "This is an incredible idea. Um, are you just like bouncing this idea off me, or do you want to do this together?" And I hadn't even considered that. I was like, "Yeah, let's do it together."
Yeah.
Um, you know, at the time she had stage 4 cancer, and uh, I didn't let that stop us because nothing stopped her. She kept living her life as if she did not have cancer. Um, and so I just, the way she encouraged me to do it was she talked about how life is short. And if you have a good idea, you should just do it. Um, so I don't think I would have done it without her encouragement and her signing on to support it and be a part of it with me. She had a DJ, a location, and a date within a day. So
Wow.
she's like, just do it. So she did it. Um, she's just like, she gets things done. So that put everything in motion. And once we had that first party, it just snowballed because word got out, and then uh, it just went crazy after that. Something we never, ever expected. Um, and so the legacy that she leaves on this is not just it exists, you know, because of her, is that her feeling overall about life is despite everything that's going on, the tough stuff that either you're dealing with personally or politically or, you know, all the stuff that we deal with, there's room for joy and connection. And she suffered so much. By the time she passed, she had lost her ability to even speak because radiation had zapped her vocal cords
Yeah.
and she couldn't walk. Um, but that didn't stop her from encouraging others to do that for her. Um, she wanted everyone to feel that joy, and it's okay to feel joy when life is hard. It's she was able to do that, and her talking about that, I think it gave people permission to experience that joy without feeling weird about it. Like, how can I go out and have fun with my friends when A, B, and C is happening?
Yeah.
You can. There is room for both, and it's okay uh, to just forget that for a little bit. We need to. Um, Without it, you know, we'd probably collapse. It's essential to life, and so she was really inspiring for so many people. Every time she would get up on stage and speak, you could hear a pin drop. Even when she couldn't really talk at all, she was able to talk like in a whisper. So she
Yeah.
would put the microphone right to her mouth, and people would, like, if you could imagine 1,000 women just silent to hear her. Um, it was incredibly moving. Um, and so I will always speak about her at every event. I want people to know about her and be inspired by her message of finding joy in amongst the shit, which is what she always used to say.
Yeah.
Um, and that's always going to be her legacy and what she's brought to women around the country, and really around the world. I mean, on our Instagram page, like, there's so many people from all over the world who are inspired by her. And when she died and we put out a video of her speaking at the last event she was able to attend, it was the response was incredible. I mean, her magic continues, um, hopefully forever. Like, she's always going to be a huge part of what we do.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring. That's really beautiful. So
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
she was beautiful.
Um, at that first event, at what point in the night did the two of you look at each other and say, "Oh my goodness, this is this is something bigger than maybe what you had originally planned"?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear even before it started that when it sold out and we looked at the guest list and we didn't know a lot of the people,
That's the best.
I, I, I couldn't believe it. It just was like this viral thing that happened. And then, even though it was like this terrible blizzard, it was in February, and so, like, it was a horrible blizzard, and we're like, no one's gonna come. But even if it's just our friends who come, it's gonna be great anyways. So, but then lots of people came. People came in their snow boots and, like, you know, um, just ready to party. Like, it's clear how many people needed it. And then people approached Susie and me saying, like, this is magical. Like, this is incredible. I'd forgotten what it feels like to do this, and you have to keep doing it. And so we found a bigger venue for the next one, and then they just growing from there. So now we're doing parties like 3 times a month and traveling all over the country, and it's been a wild ride, but we're just kind of going with it.
Yeah.
And seeing where it takes us next.
How I know the parties are in several cities now. I think just in the U.S. for right now, maybe.
For right now.
Uh, how did that start? How did that expansion beyond Chicago start?
It was really Susie who said, do you think we could bring this to New York? Um, that was our first thought because she had of course, a lot of connections in New York, and she'd been hearing from friends there, like, you got to bring this to New York. And so it was kind of a test, like, can this work outside of Chicago where we've had a decent amount of press in Chicago and people know about us here. We have so many friends here. What happens if we go somewhere else? Will people like it just as much? Is this just a Chicago thing? And so when it sold out in New York, it was like, wow, okay, so this really could be something. And from there, it just felt like, let's just keep going. Let's try LA. Let's see what happens if we go to LA. Same thing. The response was incredible. And then we just built our audience from there. We base our expansion on how many people have reached out to us asking us to come to their city. So we have an email list and people choose the city that they're interested in. And so that's been one of the ways that we decide where we go next. And Boston, I don't know what's happening in Boston, but they definitely need to dance because we are going to be there monthly in 2026 because the the demand is so insane that it sells out in, I think it's sold out in like 5 minutes or something, our November event. So um, we're trying to feed that need that people have. So it's been incredible.
How many cities now have you been in? Have you held events in?
I believe it's been we have events in 15 cities right
Okay.
now that either we been there or we are going to be there very soon. So, and that is going to expand in uh, exponentially in 2026. We're already booked through first quarter, and now we're starting to book second quarter of 2026, and we're just kind of being like, well, this is a time where we're just going to be traveling a lot, and this is how we're going to set up Earlybirds, and we're just going to, we both have very supportive families, and I say we both because our DJ who travels with me is Susie's cousin, and she's been the DJ from the very beginning, and
Awesome.
so Helene and I have been doing this together for a long time, and it just feels right to have her by my side doing this because Susie is the one who hand selected her as the first DJ, and it feels right to have a family member of Susie's, with me doing this. It's great, and I know it's very meaningful for Helene too. Um, so we're just traveling all over the place, and it's really fun. Good thing that Helene and I travel well together because we both, wherever we are, we're just like, what food can we eat? Like,
Oh
just
yeah.
like she loves to eat as much as me, and so when we were in Philly 2 weeks ago, we're like, must get cheesesteaks, and so of course
Yes.
she's researching like what's the best place where, and so that's what we take time for is finding like the best food. Um, so it's fun. Like she and I have such fun together. Um, you know, we miss Susie just beyond measure, um, but we're doing our best to um, live out her legacy and bring this to as many people as we can.
When you and Susie started this, did you envision it as a business? Because what you're talking about right now does is not a side project. This is a full fledged, or it sounds. I mean, at least in terms of time commitment, is a full fledged venture.
Yes, it is a full-time job for me and then some. And we do have one full-time employee, and she's fabulous. It was not supposed to be a business. I mean, we thought maybe it could possibly be that. But after the first event, Susie was like, we need to start an LLC. We need to have a bank account. We need to have credit cards, in our company name. We need to do all this tax stuff. We need to, she had started a business before, so she knew what she was doing. I had no idea. I was like, what's an LLC? So she was like, oh, honey. So she led us through all of those steps, and thank God she did. Like, she's like, we need to trademark our logo and our name, and I like hadn't even considered all of those things, but for her, it was intuitive to do all of that. So with her help, it became much easier to go that route. We certainly did not think it would get like that. Like when we were planning the first party, if you had told me where we would be now, I wouldn't have believed it. That was certainly not the intention when we started. But again, we're just kind of riding the wave and seeing where it takes us, and trying. Our expansion is very deliberate, and it's very, um, we could have taken on a lot of investors and like franchised the concept,
Yeah.
but she and I both did not want to do that because it would lose the magic of what it is. This is not something that you can cultivate on an assembly line. This is something that is very intentional, and we need to feel like it's the right thing in the right place, um, with the right people helping us run it. We're training ambassadors in each city to take over for the events once we've established ourselves there.
How did you come up with the name? How many iterations of the name were there? I'm curious about that too.
Um,
So hard.
it was really hard to come up with something that wasn't trite or, you know, cliche. Um, it was Susie's idea. She said that one morning she woke up and it was just like Earlybirds Club in her head. And it was perfect because, slang for women birds, making fun of
Yeah.
that, and like early bird, of course, because we start at 6. And club was important too because it is a feeling of belonging that we want
Yeah.
to cultivate. And once we had that name, like I knew as soon as she said it to me, I'm like, that's it, for sure, that is it. And so, and then, once we had the logo, and I've been asked this a lot, like, why is your logo this screaming ostrich? uh, and it's because like I searched Google for like weird screaming bird, and that is what came up. I'm like, of course, an ostrich. They're so weird looking, and um, we wanted to make it clear that we're not taking ourselves super seriously. Like, this is not a place to, really care about how silly you're being.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring the weird, the idea of the screaming is like people are singing lyrics all night long. And so it's really fitting. And once we had that, and it's quite a memorable logo if you if you've seen it,
Yeah.
it just felt right.
Did you have places that you went when you were younger and willing to stay out later that served as inspiration for early birds?
The first thing that comes to mind is the Liars Club. I used to
Oh,
go
yeah.
there, and it's kind of not kind of, it is a divey place.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's still like this, but on Saturday nights there was like this tiny dance floor, and there was a DJ that often played the music that we liked, which was like Depeche Mode and The Cure and Erasure and New Order and all that. And we would just dance and dance and dance and dance and just be silly because it's like this tiny dance floor, like no one cares. It's not like a club. I
Yeah.
never went to like clubs. That was not really my thing, but like dive bars with a dance floor is like, this is it for me. And so that is, I didn't think about it that way, but I suppose that was kind of an inspiration for me. But there was another place, God, what was it called? I cannot remember, but it no longer exists. But that was another place we would go to. And just no pretense, just kind of dingy,
Yeah.
dancing, like you're not trying to impress anyone. And so that that is definitely where that must have, that initial thought must have come from, now that I think about it.
Chicago is really good, or was, I wouldn't know anymore, but was really good for late night dingy bars with tiny dance floors. I'm thinking of a place I used to love to go that also does not exist anymore called 1056. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And when it
Yes.
closed, there were places like Artful Dodger also closed.
Artful Dodger. That was it.
Is that
That was
it?
the place I used to go to. Oh my gosh. Yes. That was it. Yeah, it was like there's no velvet rope or a line of,
No.
like
Perfect.
no. It
Yeah.
was nothing like that, and that's why I loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go, I have to go back to something you mentioned when you were talking about Philly, and you mentioned cheesesteak. You mentioned every time you go to cities with your DJ, you're trying to figure out like where should we go eat. In Chicago, if people are coming to visit, where do you tell them they have to go eat? Or when you get home from all of these travels, where you're like, oh, I gotta go here, I gotta go get my Chicago. Where is that place for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm gonna be cliche and say Lula Cafe because everyone loves that place, and it's I love that place so much, and it's a place I can keep coming back to because they changed their menu, but they still keep the things that I live for on the menu. But it's just an institution, and Susie happened to be very good friends with the owners, and so whenever we'd go there, we would be showered with wonderful extra foods that we didn't order.
Sure.
And it's the place where I go to for birthdays, to celebrate something, or just to have brunch. So when I have friends from out of town, that's where I want to take them. I also love taking them to kind of the more fun ethnic neighborhoods. I have a good friend who comes in a lot, and she loves Ethiopian food. So like Demera in
Yeah.
Uptown is essential. And she keeps wanting to go back to the same place. I'm like, there are other Ethiopian restaurants out here, but she just loves that place so much. What else? I mean, there are a lot of just hot dog joints around me that I really dig, and there's a place in my neighborhood called Community Tavern
Hmm.
so I live in Old Irving Park, but right next to Portage Park, which is where this restaurant is, and it's incredible. It's so good, and it's like elevated dining, but you could totally come in like running shorts and no one bats an eye, which is another thing I love about Chicago. So those are the places that come to mind. Also, Daisy's in Logan Square is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we don't get to go out and eat as much as I would like because I'm either doing an early birds event or, I have kids, so we have to get a babysitter. So we're very strategic, like about where we go. We also love Giant and Chef Special.
Yes.
Um, all of those. I guess we eat out in Logan Square a lot, but it's very close to where I live, so it's so easy to get there, and the restaurants there are incredible.
Yeah, there's just so much good food in that neighborhood. There's so much good food in Chicago that it is like it's hard to choose, and particularly if you have limited time. Like, where should I go? A few weeks ago, I went to Lula, hadn't been in years probably, and I was like, this is perfect. The food is perfect. The service is perfect. Like
Mhm.
everything about this is so good. I hope and it's been around forever, but I hope it's continues to stay around forever.
Same.
Yeah.
And one thing, I love going to New York for our parties. We're lucky that we've been able to go again and again. What I love about Chicago is the food is so good, and you don't have to wait like months and months to get into a restaurant. Like for the most part, you can get into like most of the places that are really, really good. And the places that are really, really good are often just little tiny hole in the wall places, and it's so accessible
Yeah.
here. The cost of living is, I keep comparing it to LA and New York, but that's where we go a lot. And it's just easier to live here. It's easier to um, experience the things that make a city great. Its cuisine, its parks, it's like the lakefront is incredible. Um, those are the things that I think sets Chicago apart, is the accessibility of some of these wonderful cultural things that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. Okay, Laura, thanks so much for taking all of this time today. I really appreciate it. This was so fun. Um, when is the next event in Chicago, or when is the next event where tickets are available?
Uh, Not in Chicago, because everything
Okay,
is sold out.
no doubt.
We do have an event coming up in the south suburbs because that was something that people were begging us for. Tickets will be on sale in 13 minutes.
Okay.
And it's in a place called 115 Bourbon Street, and we're having our big Halloween party. We always do Halloween because it was Susie's favorite holiday. And I'm learning to love Halloween myself. So that'll be November 1st. So tickets hopefully will still be available once this airs.
Yeah.
We still have tickets for San Diego and Phoenix if anyone
Mm-hmm.
wants
All
to
right, great.
travel. Uh, and let's see, Minneapolis, we still have very few tickets left. Portland. So it's really in Chicago. Our events sell out within a minute.
Yeah.
Truly, we are looking to expand to bigger venues, but right now we have a residency at the Bee Kitchen, and so it's a smaller venue. It's very intimate, and again, that's where we test a lot of our concepts. Like this Saturday, it's sold out, but we're doing a Prince party, which was my idea, and this is like one of the best things that I get to like test out concepts that I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Prince fan, and so it's called Prince and Friends. So it's our 6 degrees of Prince is what we called it. So all the proteges, like all the musicians who were inspired by him, people who recorded albums at Paisley Park. The connections are sometimes a little wayward, and but that makes it really fun. 'Cause
Yeah.
I want people to guess the connection because I'm such a nerd, but it'll be fun. Like women love to dress up in costume. This is something that I learned. Like when we have an '80s night, you would not believe how people dress up for that. Prince. I am expecting to see a lot of amazing outfits.
Love it.
I have a few things planned myself. I just went to the thrift store and got an amazing haul, so it's going to be good.
Amazing. That sounds so fun. All right. Well, thanks again for spending all of this time. This was wonderful. So exciting. So excited that Earlybirds exists for the world, but also selfishly for myself. And thanks. It was lovely to have you on.
Well, thank you. We'll have to have you at a Chicago event soon.
Yes. Thank you for listening to Notes from Chicago. This podcast is edited and produced by Tanisha Blakely. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Notes from Chicago on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.